Now we'll go to next topic by presentation by Dr. C. Raghu, which patients should not have radial access with the tips and tricks.
I would like to make a small tips and tricks and try to make it interesting and show certain case examples that might help us in our future clinical practice. When do I prefer femoral access over radial? That was the topic which was allotted. I thought that I would extend the topic to all of us as cardiologists who have been practicing interventional cardiology through the radial access. So it is not uncommon for us to think that radial access is difficult, and many a time we need to cross over from the radial to the femoral. It depends upon the threshold at which we cross over from the radial to the femoral. So the threshold is low in the initial part when we start upon the radial program. But subsequently, as you gain experience, the threshold increases and you persist to continue to do transradial procedures, and that is the key to the success of performing a transradial procedure. So I would just show you a small data from the OCTOPLUS, which they have randomized multi-center trial in people who are more than 80 years of age. That means a very old people who required angioplasty, and they have randomized into one arm which is a femoral arm, the other arm is a radial arm. And it has been seen that if you see in the femoral arm, they have randomized about 185 patients, out of which 13 had to be crossed over from the femoral to the radial. Whereas in the same study, in the radial arm, they have randomized about 192 patients, out of which 15 patients had to cross over to the femoral arm. The lesson, what we can understand from this cartoon is, we need to understand that it is not necessary that by femoral route we are able to complete all the procedure. There are a lot of situations where we need to cross over to an alternate axis, which happens as with the radial also. So having said that, why certain times we need to cross over and why the crossover rate appears to be much higher. If you look at this a very landmark paper in my the discussion which I show many a time, is if you start a transradial program, about 8 to 10% failure in the first 50 to 100 cases is normal. So please let us not stop the procedure at this level. Rather, once you complete about 1000 to 1200 procedures, your failure rate is just less than 2%. So what we need to understand is, until we complete this 1000 to 1200 procedures, you tend to have situations where you are not able to cannulate the coronaries. So it is a normal thing to happen, and as we gain our experience, our complication rates are minimized. Now I will show you a few clinical situations where we need to possibly cross over or not cross over. That is the thing which I am going to tell. The first is, if there is an ischemic Allen's, whether we need to transfer crossover or not. Initially, 12 years, 13 years ago, when we started the transradial program, we used to check Allen's test for almost every patient by the technician. But subsequently, we have got lot of data which says that Allen's test is not mandatory, and last 6 to 7 years we have never done an Allen's test, and we have never lost any limb or any problem has happened. So according to me, Allen's test has got a very limited role in our clinical situation. There are certain times when we had a radial which was occluded, and in that situation, it's with a word of caution, we still continue to do an ulnar procedure because hand has got a lot of dual blood supply, so we need not be worried about an ischemic Allen's anymore in the radial. So being ischemic, we need not convert it to a femoral. Now the second problem which we can observe in our early part of our transradial interventions is a diffuse spasm of the radial artery. So whenever you have a spasm of the radial artery, the catheter refuses to move. The catheter refuses to move forward nor come back. So in those situations, what we can do is, we need to give intra-arterial vasodilator, sedation, oxygen, and most importantly in our Indian setting is, you change your angiographic guide wire as well as the catheters to a new one. Most of the times you will be able to overcome the spasm. But mind you, radial spasm is there for the first 500 cases. After that, spasm is never a problem. You need to understand that the training of the entire team is important for you to reduce the spasm. It's not necessary that you being a good intervention is sufficient. Your technicians also have to be trained how to alleviate the spasm by simple measures. So many a time you think that there is a radial artery spasm, and when you look at it, you are able to perform an angiogram. For example, this is the radial artery which is originating from the axillary artery. Normally, the brachial artery bifurcates into radial and ulnar. In this situation, what you are having is a radial artery which is originating from the axillary artery. This is the situation. What happens is, whenever you have a situation like this, your catheter, with your catheter, you might be able to perform an angiogram, but when you want to advance a guide catheter, then you will have a difficulty. So, whenever you have a difficulty, even when you think it is a spasm, always have a very low threshold for performing a radial angiogram. Radial angiogram or axillary artery angiogram, whatever angiogram, your angiogram, you should do an angiogram to delineate the problem. Once you define the problem, you will know how to overcome it. So, radial origin, high up origin of the radial artery happens in about 1% of the cases, which is a situation where this is the first situation where I think I need to transfer or cross over from the radial to the femoral artery, especially when I am doing a angioplasty. That is the first thing. Now, there is another set of abnormalities which can happen in our day-to-day practice. If you see this angiogram, I am sorry. If you see this angiogram, this is what is called as the antebrachial loop, and the radial artery is continuing as a radial artery remnant. This also happens in about 2% of the cases. The artery is going up, your wire goes up, but your catheter doesn't go. So, when you do an angiogram, you understand that there is a loop here. How do you overcome this loop? Antebrachial loops, your guide wire of choice is the 0.14-inch coronary angioplasty coronary guide wire. So, what will happen is, when you pass this wire, you can see that the wire takes a loop and goes up like that, and even your catheter also has got a chance that it goes up like this. Your catheter is also going up like this, and once you pass the wire and straighten it out, the catheter straightens off. So, it's these antebrachial loops are another challenge, especially in the younger part of our career. We might have to cross over from radial to the femoral route. The other problem where many a time we need to cross over from the radial to the femoral is the arterial lusoria. Arterial lusoria means the brachiocephalic artery, that is the subclavian continues as the radial artery. So, the brachiocephalic artery, instead of arising as the first branch of the aortic arch, it arises as the last branch. So, it arises from close to the upper part of the descending aorta. So, what is happening is the catheter has to go like this and take a bend and come from here and come into the ascending aorta. So, in this situation, this is one situation where if you are young, you might not be able to cannulate the coronaries. So, in this situation, you might have to cross over from the radial to the femoral. One problem which can happen is the subclavian loop. You have been told that if there is a loop in the antebrachial, the wire of choice is the coronary angioplasty guide wire. But if you have got a loop in the subclavian artery, the wire is not the Teflon coated 035 wire, but it is a thermo or the hydrophilic wire which you need to take, and apart from that you need to institute small measures like taking a deep breath so that the wire slips down into the ascending aorta. Deep breath, changing of the Teflon coated wire with a hydrophilic wire, that is what is required to overcome the subclavian loop. For an abnormal subclavian loop, usually we do not need to cross over to the radial, to the femoral, and once you have reached the ascending aorta, please try to keep the wire in place and exchange the catheters over the wire. Otherwise, sometimes you might find it very difficult to get into the ascending aorta, leading to a crossover to the femoral. So, very important to keep the wire in the ascending aorta, then exchange the catheters over the wire. Then, there might be a situation where you do an angioplasty, procedure is performed successfully. 1 hour later, patient has got acute stent thrombosis. You need to wheel the patient back into the cath lab. In that situation, you might have to give lot of 2B3A inhibitors. In those circumstances also, my personal preference is to use the same radial artery, no problem. You need to take a pick little up and then try to puncture the radial artery, you will be able to do that. Do not worry about any bleeding complications. The most important, as I have written, is always puncture proximal to the previous side. So you will be able to go forward. And then 2 punctures or 3 punctures, same radial artery within the first 24 hours is not at all a problem. Because if you go femoral, then once again whatever advantage, as Dr. Kapardi was telling, of the vascular complications still happen with the femoral approach. Now I will show you certain situations where we need to go compulsorily into a femoral approach. The first case I would be showing is of, I am sorry, just I will quickly show you the angios. Yes, I will not take much time, sir. Okay. This is the angiography. If you see, we did the angiogram through the transradial route, a distal left main with an ostial LAD and a big ramus, big dominant circumflex coronary. We wanted to do a left main to the LAD angioplasty. So in that situation, if you see, the entire angiogram was performed through the radial route. But when we wanted to do an angioplasty and place a stent, we have crossed over to the femoral route. Why? Because we wanted to take a 7 French system, we wanted to do a kissing or a trissing. In those situations, the first situation where I would cross from a radial to the femoral. Then another very common situation where I change from a radial to femoral is a short and a small aorta, especially in women. And the left main in these situations is very horizontal. In those situations, it is technically very challenging to cannulate the left system from the radial. The right you will be able to do, the left cannulation is very challenging. In those situations, if you go to the femoral, you will do the cannulation in less than 1 minute, whereas from the radial you try for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, many a time it will be challenging. This is one practical situation which I personally cross over to a femoral. Then cardiogenic shock. In patients with cardiogenic shock also, usually my axis site for performing the angioplasty continues to be radial if I am able to get the puncture in the first 2 to 3 minutes and reserve the femoral axis for putting an intra-aortic balloon pump. So this is what is my personal thing. Another common thing where we need to go from a radial to femoral is whenever you want to do a rotablator when the burr size is more than 1.75. In that situation, because you need to use a 7 French guide catheter, I do not go through a radial approach. People might say that we can even put a 7 French guide cath through the radial approach, but what happens is our radial arteries are little smaller and we tend to have more radial occlusions if we put a bigger guide catheter in a small radial arteries. Now, the other situation where you might have to go through a femoral approach is when you do a kissing balloon inflation for final kissing balloon inflation for a bifurcation. So, the upper limit of what we can do is you can use up to a 3.5 millimeter balloon in the main vessel and in the side branch up to a 3 millimeter. Anything more than that, you will not be able to put 2 balloons through a 6 French system. Even for using these balloons also, you have got certain companies like the Boston Scientific, Abbott and the Thermo companies. These are the balloons which are ideally suited for the kissing balloon inflation. Venous graft intervention is one thing which I wanted to just show you. Whenever you, this is another important thing where you, I'm sorry, just, yeah. For example, this was the man whom we did a coronary, the diagnostic angiogram was done entirely through the radial route. You can see that there is a tight lesion in the distal saphenous venous graft to the LAD, and this graft is supplying to the right coronary artery as well as to the obtuse marginal. So one graft, all the rest of the grafts are occluded. In this situation, when you want to, I won't take more than 2-3 minutes more. I think I am through. In that situation, when you want to do a very complex angioplasty like this, obviously, I would like to change whenever I am using a distal protection device with the 3 vessels which are supplying by one coronary artery. This is one situation where we use a femoral approach rather than a radial approach, especially we are using a very complex intervention and then a big bore catheter. That is one situation where we use it. Then finally, peripheral vascular diseases interventions can be performed through the radial route. The major situation where I find it useful is the subclavian angioplasty, especially crossing a total occlusion of the subclavian artery is very easy from the radial route. If you have got a small pulse also, you take an axis, cross the artery and then stent from above and then the diagnostic shot or the control angiogram from the below from the femoral route. So that is a situation where we do peripheral vascular interventions through the transradial axis. But if you are putting a stent which is more than 6 millimeter in size or 7 millimeter in size, then in those situations you need to put a very big guide catheter, which is not possible for us to do the vascular interventions of the from the radial route. So renal arteries stenting, which is about 5.5 millimeter, superior mesenteric or celiac trunk stenting, which is about 5.5 millimeter or 6 millimeter. These are the situations where we can still do a radial artery, because the disposition or the lie of the arteries is much more favorable for the radial rather than accessing these arteries through the femoral approach. So in conclusion, what I would like to tell you is, despite being hardcore radialists, there could be certain situations where you still need to cross over from the radial to the femoral. Awareness about which patients can be very difficult even for a experienced operator also helps you to cross over in the initial part, so that you know that it is going to be a tough case, you can cross over. Crossing over is not a failure of your abilities, it is the ability to give a successful angioplasty to the patient that is of most important, rather than the access what you choose for performing the angioplasty. Thank you all for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Raghu, for excellent presentation. One question, in your experience, what percentage of patients you did left radial approach?
Yeah, the left radial approach is one situation where I have a left internal mammary, that's number one. Previously, I used to use, whenever I had SVG grafts, also through the left radial, but nowadays I use only the right radial approach. Only situation where I go to the left radial is when I had an asymptomatic occlusion of the right radial artery, then I cross over to the left. Otherwise, Lima is the only indication where I do, and if there is a left subclavian occlusion.
Any questions from audience?
Yeah. Yes. 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 For the renal angioplasty and stenting, if we have a renal artery which is pointing downwards, the best access is going through the radial, because you can use a 6 French guide catheter and put a up to 5.5 millimeter stent easily through through a 7 French guide catheter you can go up to 5.5 or 6 millimeter stent. The only situation where if the renal artery is pointing upwards, in that situation you can take a femoral. The importance is, if you use coronary hardware, you will be able to perform the renal angioplasty through the radial without much of a difficulty, and it will be as simple as our routine coronary angioplasty. The choice of the guide catheter for the renal angioplasty from the radial route would be a multipurpose A, or Judkins Wright if you don't have a multipurpose A.
No more questions. I think we'll close the session. And
thank you, sir.
I'd like to thank both the speakers for the great work. Thank you.